Okay, so now we're going to go on religion.
Okay.
Can you tell me about your religious beliefs?
Well, I'll go back to how it started. When I was staying in dorm in Japan for 5 years, we had a Bible study. We go to church every Sunday and all that, but it never hit me to really commit myself to Christ. But when on my senior years, there was an evangelist. He had this evangelical meeting at the hall in Yokohama. So my school, some was, not all of them, but we went, and he was really powerful. And he just evangelized the message real clear. So in those days, we didn't say we were saved. But anyway, I went back to my dorm, and I told my dorm mother, well, she was a vice principal of the church, the school, and her name was Hayashi Sensei. She was, at that time, I thought she was old, but I used to get called by her because when I'm naughty, she takes me into her room, and I used to just hate to go into her room. But this time, after this evangelical guy experience, I went to see her. She lived in she had two big rooms. Went in and I said, tonight I had gone to this evangelical meeting, and I want to be a Christian. So she said, I've been praying for 5 years. And she, for some reason, she took an interest in me because I guess I was the first one to stay in dorm for 5 years. Well, I had no place to go, I had to go all the way back to Shizuoka, which would be 5-hour ride from. So I had to stay in dorm, and which I enjoyed it very much. But anyway, so she prayed for me for 5 years, and that really touched me too. So I accepted Christ, and we don't use that term then, but I did become Christian then. And it was a real terrific experience. Then I come back to America in 1940 after I graduated from school, from Ferris. And my brother was very active in the Methodist Church in Hollywood, Crescent Heights Methodist Church. And he was a Sunday school teacher. He was boys club leader also, and he had really a good personality. So I started to go to church with him, and because of the language barrier, I didn't receive much from them, but just a lot of good fellowship. When we come back from church, and my mom told us that Japan has attacked Pearl Harbor, and of course we're devastated. We couldn't believe it. But anyway, so that night we went back to church for evening service, and all the kids come up to us, and of course, they reassured us that we'll be there. They'll be our friends. And there was one couple, Mr. and Mrs. Hampton, who was a leader of the evening group. And now I had to go a little more further. So war came and we were put in a camp. Well, first we had to go to Santa Anita racetrack. And we already told you what my mom and we were just so heartbroken about leaving the home and not knowing what's going to happen. But the church people would come every week and bring us some food because they knew we wouldn't get anything nice like what they could bring us. So they brought us probably cake and something to eat, which really helped us. But most of all, it helped us because we were still their friends, or they're our friends. So eventually we end up in Heart Mountain.
Well, what happened to Mr. Hamilton?
Oh, okay. So during the war, after we were incarcerated, Mr. John Hampton has felt that it was injustice to put us in camp. So he wrote to President Roosevelt and kind of talked about that what injustice was done. I wish I had seen that letter, and he became a conscientious objector. And it was a hard time to be a conscientious objector, although they do serve on the field in a war as probably like ambulance driver or non-weapon type. So, and eventually they were discharged and came back, and they started a little theater on Fairfax. It's called Silent Movie. They just showed nothing but silent old movies, and they were quite a hit. And Dorothy Hampton was his wife, was just a very sweet woman. And so anyway, Silent Movie Theater is still there, standing, although Mr. Hampton and Mrs. Hampton passed away. So after the war, when we bought the house on Barrington, we had a neighbor who was a navigators group, which is a Christian group started by Doss Trotman, and he, his one of the disciples were next door neighbors, and also they had a fellow named Dave Brom who was a football player for City College, but they were just I want to say real Christian, because there's some false Christian, I suppose. And they led Tad to Christ, especially Jim, who was owner of this apartment next door. And one time he was building, so Tad said to Jim, he said, if you have any leftover cement, could you dump it behind the garage so I could just put it in our patio we were building. So instead of dumping, which would have been horrible if he hardened us, I don't know what we were thinking of. But Jim came to our place and had the cement truck pour cement onto our patio and just smooth it out, and it just finished it for us. So when Tad came back from his work as a gardener, he was so touched that someone showed him what true Christian is like. So we had Jim over for dinner, and he started to preach, share his belief with Tad. And because of his action that Tad had seen, this guy show with his action that he accepted Christ that night, and I rededicate myself then. So that's my experiences with Tad's. And we became very involved with Saltell Baptist Mission, which was Southern Baptist. And we had up and down on a small little church because of not enough members, and all the members were just children. So eventually this disbanded, and we went to a larger church on Barrington again, and we had fellowship that's, to this day I still correspond with them. It's so my experience with religion, so-called religion, has been really without it, I think it would have been very hard to raise kids. In fact, one of my Sunday school kids said, Mrs. Tokuda, when I have my children, I'm going to send them to Sunday school class or to church, because I know how you struggled. Because I had 3 boys, and they were kind of rough and tough. So, and it's really true. Without my belief, I probably would have just kind of given up. No, I don't think I would have. But that's my religious experience.
Okay. What was the most profound spiritual moment of your life?
I think when I accepted Christ again after this navigator group, I think it's a Dave Brome, start to tell us the new way to accept Christ, new way to work for Him by memorizing the Bible verses. That's what navigators do, and they are still very active, very active. And when Dave Brome has again talked to me about what Christianity could do for the others and for myself too. That was a time that was profound, shall we say, for me. And the interesting thing, sidebar, my niece Kathy was around 16, and they had a little birthday party, so Amy, my sister, Kathy's mother, invited us. So I had at the time, Dave was still next door, and so we said, we'll just ask Amy if I could bring Dave. Because Dave was just a great guy. He was a man's man, and Ted and he used to just talk about football and, just had a great fellowship. So we took Dave to Kathy's place, and of course Dave is the type that would right away start to talk about Christ. And Kathy and Amy were so offended that they really got mad at us. And so we apologized for bringing a guest who were very frank with his religion, which I'm not. I am very not verbal. Probably like 2 years later, Kathy calls me and said, "Auntie, I'm saved. I just accepted Christ at Mount Hermon." That's where the Christian group used to go. She started the church earlier, but never had experience, personal experience. So she said, and we had a great speaker. His name is Dave Brome. So I said, "Kathy, we brought Dave Brome to your house, and you guys got really mad at us." She go, "Oh my gosh." She said, she was just mortified. But that's the kind Dave is, just great guy that never was scared to talk about him. So that was and amazingly, all Kathy's children became Christian. They accepted Christ, and their children, especially the oldest one, Jodie's, used to actually babysit her siblings' children, and she would just share Bible story with them before they go to school. And so all the children became Christian, and from one man, because he spoke up, the whole family is now is Christians. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we're going to talk about family heritage. What is your ethnic background?
I'm a Japanese through and through. Of course, I have a DNA test one these days. See what else I might be. Who knows? Maybe Ainu.
So, do you think being Japanese and being sent to the camps had an effect on you? What kind of effect did it have on you when you came back?
Actually, I assimilated real good. I think I could, I don't have any bitterness. Neither did my mom. My sister-in-law did very, very strongly. But I think it's up to a person. And I had no anger, except when Ted came back from the war. He couldn't get a job. I think that was really hard on him, because he was more American than a lot of kids that I knew. And his anger was toward people who didn't hire him because of his ethnic background. It's kind of silly, but because he was Japanese looking, they wouldn't hire him.
But I meant things like, like
Prejudice?
you and Dad were very active in the community,
Mm-hmm.
and so do you think the Niseis, or second generation Japanese Americans, did all these things to sort of be more American?
We tried to be more American, white American. And so, it's a different time. In the 40s, we were more, shall we say, obedient. In fact, MacArthur said during the occupation of Japan, they were able to occupy Japan without much incident because of people were just taught to obey authority. And I think I have that in me because I was in Japan. I was raised in Japan, so I have that. Yeah, you follow the government or authority, and without question. So I accepted the whole thing, even those, being in camp and all. I never felt anger. I have seen some people, like I told you earlier about them at the White's museum gallery, I guess, at the UCLA, had the exhibit of Ansel Adams and Dorothea Lange's photos, and one woman, but she had that anger in her that, I felt it when she spoke up, but I never felt that way. The food was lousy at first, but so we eat peanut butter sandwich.
Remembering a loved one. So
Okay.
we'll use Nappy as
Okay.
these questions. What was your relationship to Nappy?
Nappy was really my best friend. Even when he came to Japan for my father's service, he was just so much fun and made me laugh. Even though we had, language barrier was really great. I couldn't speak English. He couldn't speak Japanese, but just a gesture. And so when I came back, so many kibes of people that came back from Japan after spending a few years in Japan, they feel very alienated from family. I never had that. I have seen this over and over again with the people that stayed in Japan for so many years. It's all because my mom and my brother Nappy, they just embrace me. Where I hear lots of kibes or just alienated from their parents, and they're angry that they were sent away. They cannot speak good English, so they were probably, if they had siblings, they would probably look down on them. And so I think that there's a schism there, and where I never went through that because of my brother. So I was very fortunate. And I think it's me too, that I was able to not feel neglected. One girl said to me way later in my writing class, Sylvia said, "Lili, your mom abandoned you." I go, "What are you talking about?" She said, because I wrote about my life in Japan. So she said, "Yeah, she just left you there." And I never felt that way. I felt that she left me because I was going to school. And it's very acceptable in Japan, and like I said before, England, they send their children away for education. So I just felt that's fine. So I told Sylvia, I said, I never felt that way. And she go, "Oh yes, you're abandoned." She was a funny little girl. But I think she had a rather unhappy marriage, and it changes person, So she felt that, Lili is happy-go-lucky, but I bet if she really looked in her heart, she would have agreed that she was abandoned. But I didn't. I just feel very lucky that I could speak both languages. And friends in Japan, that was really a true friend. They're like my soulmates. So, you know. So anyway, my brother was just wonderful.
Okay, tell me a little bit about Nappy.
Okay. When I came back from Japan, the first night or second night, they're fixing something and they had Jello. You know, we didn't have fancy desserts, but probably like ice cream or something. But Mom brought out the Jello and Nappy said, "Do you know what this is?" I said, "Of course I know. We call in Japan jelly." He said, "This is Jello, hello." He just was funny guy. And he was my mom's favorite. And I always wondered, how did George feel that Mom was openly show that Nappy was her favorite. And she would just always, in anything Nappy will say, she'll laugh, and Nappy will tease her. So she really enjoyed Nappy. And to the day that she died, she worried about him. He got it from my father, and leukodystrophy, that's what it is. But we used to think it was just MS. You lose your mobility. And Nappy and my sister got it. But Nappy, even when he was in bed, he was bedridden, he still cracked jokes. You know, just amazing. And Reiko always said, his daughter always said, "I wish we had paid more attention to him." And if he had internet in those days, but he passed away in 1984. She said how he would have had the friends all over the world, and how true that would have been. But it was not to be. We just didn't have it. But Reiko, that's one regret she has. She always said, "I really should have spent more time." So at least Mom, Ted used to take her to see Nappy, probably like maybe twice a month. She'll make some food, sushi for him, or Sue would have a very nice lunch for us. So at least we got to see him often.
What was your best memory of Nappy?
I think his Mickey Rooney type of a joke. One night he would get behind the door and pretend like he's choking himself with his hand, but looks like someone's attacking him. And I thought he was a nut. He was funny, but in Japan we never do things like that. So, but that was the first memory of him that was being really funny. And that's because I never encountered anyone like that. And he just a really fun guy. Okay.
Okay.
My big brother. Yeah, I better talk about him. You know, he was nothing like Nappy, and I think a mother, more or less, because George didn't have a job for a long time. He didn't get married. He was past 30, so she always thought him as no ambition, no nothing. But one thing about him, he never talked bad about anyone. He was, in that sense, he was like my father. And that's a wonderful quality, which we didn't appreciate until, I think, much later. He didn't have the mean bone, although he would say things that's not normal conversation. Well, he's not a social person, but he really had a good quality. I look back and I said, he was really a good man. Yeah. And my Amy, my big sister, she was 10 years older than I. She was a crack up. She she would cuss just a little. She smoked, and she was a big flirt. She had lots of boyfriends, even after she had 2 kids, and she was, of course, divorced from her husband. But people just drawn to her. But she was so giving. She didn't have much money because her probably husband didn't support her much because he had a drinking problem. But Amy was just she would take me shopping, and although of course we spend my mom's money, but she would just try to make me look good, and because I was going to school, and she was so selfless, unselfish, a woman. She never felt jealous because mom was paying attention to me, that she's spending money on me. Mom even bought me a fur half jacket, and Amy's the one that chose it for me. Or evening dress that I wore to a dance. She's the one that would just take lots of time with me. So
This part of the questions are over, so we thank StoryCorp and Mom for giving us this interview.
good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, done.
Done?
Hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo. Okay.
Lili to a friend. Lili, my mother-in-law, the most, she's probably the best mother-in-law anybody could have. I imagine, I could not imagine a better one. And then I knew that from day one when I met her in Tokyo. And she's been very, we had good conversations, we liked each other right away, and she was very nice to be with. She's very giving. She's funny. I like the way she likes shopping and enjoys life. Her personal, we all know her about her giving side, but she likes to take care of her own self too. She likes the way she presents and doesn't let it go. She just doesn't let age get to her, Yet she's not very vain. I really like to be around. I feel like she could be my mother at times. Sometimes I feel like I could talk with her, actually like a sister too, and just a friend. She has all that in her, and I feel it all the time. She makes me feel welcome all the time. She can pick up on me when I'm not feeling maybe a little bit down or something. She will feel that, and she will do something really nice. She always does something nice. She never forgets any birthdays or Mother's Days or any day that there is to be remembered. She has it, and she will take good care. I probably put a few pounds on just because of her fabulous cooking, especially at the beginning when I just had to have everything. She cooked and double servings, so she's a great cook. The humorous quality she has, the giving quality, obviously. Her empathy quality. Lili will go on YouTube and find out how things work. Something she would fix something too, which we maybe shouldn't be fixed because it would need climbing on ladders, and she would do that too. So that's a good quality. She's a I can do woman. She can do things. And she's not helpless. And her enjoyment of life every day. Her it seems like when she wakes up, she has this picture in herself that her day is going to be a good one. She's going to have a good day. It seems like it, and she smiles at things, at little things. She feeds her birds outside the window, and she gets pleasure out of that, and that's a good attribute. yeah, like everybody said, always caring for others before she cares for herself.
Take two.
Just an afterthought of a story about Lili is just how she's interested in anything and wants to lend a hand. And I told her about a situation that I am in with a woman. I'm trying to help an older woman who's in a real bad situation. And, instead of just listening, which is great, Lili just automatically said, oh, I think I have some information. And she got me a phone number of someone that she knew could help. And she just jumped right in and every time I see her, she asks me, how that is. But she truly cared. She really, and it was not someone she knows, it's just through me. And, she just is a person that wants to help everybody. She wants to give of herself and just interested in everything and wants to contribute.
Great. Deborah said exactly the same.